Well, Mitchell has shared with us how engaged youth want to be specifically, and being encouraged to be a part of their process, which we absolutely love because it's so totally necessary, so completely necessary. And it doesn't matter where you are, where you live these days, which is fantastic. So we have a young lady here. Her name is Vivian Onano, and she is a global youth leader from Kenya. Currently, she serves as a youth advisor to the UN Women Global Civil Society Advisory Group and education spokesperson for Moremi, Africa. She is a firm believer in the potential of young people, as we all in this room are, I know, to create and implement sustainable change. Vivian has a vision and a dream, and she is going to share a little of that with us. Thank you, Vivian.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming. I am so grateful to Myro and Ravi for the invitation to be here. I'm learning just as you are, so bear with me. What is your name again? Mitch. Oh, as yes. Mitch just shared, we have a platform, the World Youth Want, and as a youth leader, I believe we want a peaceful world, a world that's inclusive of each and every person, and a world where everyone has the ability and access to the resources to be able to achieve their full potential. And peace is a necessity for development, and vice versa. And we have the ambitious 17 proposed SDGs with 169 targets, and all these targets are not going to be, for them to be actually implemented, we have to make sure that we have realistic systems for the implementations of these goals. And young people have to be at the center of implementation. We have to be at the table during the discussions, and also we have to be involved in the field where we have to implement these goals. And our ideas and our solutions have to be taken into consideration and incorporated where possible. Africa youth between 15 and 25 represent more than 60% of the population on the continent, and the total population accounts for 45% of the total labor force. But on the sad note, it is estimated that 133 million young people on the continent are illiterate. This is more than 50% of the total youth population on the continent. And without an education, you don't have a voice. Without education, you have limited or no skills at all. And this limits your participation on important issues such as the Sustainable Development Goals, or just improving the socio-economic status of your community or your country, or even at a global level, engaging with global leaders and other like-minded people. So I think education and access to education is going to play a very, very critical role in the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals. And we must make sure that the access to education is inclusive of everyone. And young girls have to be given this opportunity. It's very frustrating that up to today, the young girls who were abducted in northern Nigeria have not been rescued. And why were they abducted? Because of education. They were trying to create a better life for them. They were trying to create the world they want for themselves, and they were denied that opportunity. We have to make sure that that doesn't repeat. And for that not to repeat, you have to make sure that we bring those girls back. And I know that's a process that everybody else is concerned about and everybody else is working on. But we have to make sure that education and schools are a safe haven for children. The other day, kids were attacked in Pakistan. I mean, it's unfortunate that right now parents has to make the decision whether to take the child to school or whether to stay with the child at home so that she can be assured that she's going to see her daughter or her son at the end of the day. We can't continue like that, because then you're going to continue the world that is literate. And when people are uninformed, or when people don't have the access to knowledge, or when people don't, because lack of access to knowledge that we can have young people participate on platforms such as the World We Want or the World Youth Want. The 7 million votes is because they had access to technology. And access to technology means they had some education that was able to influence the kind of decisions that they made when participating on this campaign. And we want to make sure that all young people have that access. All young people can have their voices heard. They all can come to UN, but they can be able to participate in their communities or in the local areas that they're coming from. And how do you make that possible? As leaders, we have to push for access to quality education for everybody, and we have to make sure that schools are safe havens for children, so that we don't have to make a choice between a child staying at home for them to be safe, or go to school and the mom worries or the dad worries the whole day whether they're going to see their child or not. So security and peace is very, very integral in the whole process. And lack of peace, we can't achieve development. And lack of development also, lack of inclusive development leads to social unrest. So we have to all figure that in. And you have to make sure that we don't leave our young people out. Because if you leave them out, you're leaving a huge population. And we're looking at the Sustainable Development Goals with their 15-year plan. Young people have to be key players, because this is the life we are going to live. This is our life. So if we are not involved into molding our lives, then there's just no way you're going to expect us to live it. Yeah, there's no way you're going to expect us to live it. So moving forward, and I'm happy that we are having this conversation, and I know we have the UN ECOSOC Youth Forum that's coming up in February, bringing young voices to the table, having young people create the policies that they want. And I think that's where the platform, the World Youth Want, plays a very, very, very integral role. So these goals are our goals. Yes, they have been made by the global leaders, but they are our goals. Let us own them. Let us read through them and understand what exactly is expected. And also let us be realistic when it comes to implementation. We have to look at the human capital that we have in our communities, the access to finance, the access to skills and knowledge, the access to technology for us to be able to implement these goals. So I hope that when they propose them, but I hope that when it comes to implementation, it's realistic and we focus on each individual country. Let's not just put Africa, let's not just put Europe, because that's different countries, and each country has their own struggles, and they have the limit to their resources. So we also have to be inclusive of that when making the goals and also in the implementation. But I believe young people of today, we have the ability to participate effectively. And we want our space at the table, and we want our space when it comes to implementation.
That was wonderful. Thank you for sharing that as clearly as you did, because you're right. Going forward 15 years, some of us won't be here. And you have to live this. You've got to bring this forth. And yes, every country is going to have their priorities and their needs and not their needs. And so it's all shifting just into communities almost. The global community is a little community, not a big one. So to move forward, because we've gone from a youth who has dreams here and is very, very clear on how she sees that how she's asking for this, for the participation of youth. We move now to someone over here on my right here, on my left, who actually has an initiative and an idea to engage youth and to give them a voice. And they don't necessarily have to have the technology, and they don't necessarily actually be literate. Because if you can sing, if you can express yourself from the heart, then you can make a statement. So Miroslav Polzer is a global citizen from Austria. He has been head of Austrian Science and Research Liaison Office And that was where he grew his passion for systemic innovation. He's very into systems and how they work. You are, he is. In 2007, he was the driving force for establishing the IAAI, I can't go through that again, a youth-focused UN ECOSOC and DPI-accredited civil society organization based in Klagenfurt in Austria. Miro and his organization, IAAI, are developing and implementing innovative concepts, tools, and campaigns for the engagement of youth global citizens in the goals and programs of the UN. Today, Miro is here to present the Global Challenges Action Network, which he calls GLOCHA, and how it shall help to mobilize the means for implementation of post-2015 Sustainable Development Agenda with new thinking, new information, and communication technology and music.
Yes.
So,
Thank you very much, Christina, for your kind introduction. Dear ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, friends, it's a great pleasure for me to be today with you and to present you the Global Challenges Action Network. You see there in the back some posters or printouts of a poster that we have presented at COP20 in Lima in December with all the details, and there are also some pages around where you have the QR code to download the poster, because on this poster you have then also the links to presentations, to submissions that we have made to the different processes which the post-2015 agenda constitutes. And in my presentation I will read, because I regard today's event very important, and as Christina has said, I like systemic thinking and I like very sophisticated intervention logics that are really functioning, and therefore also every word is somehow important. And so, dear ladies and gentlemen, we are here at post-2015 agenda stock-taking session. So what does it mean, and what can non-governmental actors, what can civil society organizations like our organization IAI contribute to the intergovernmental negotiations, and how can we make the UN future-proof, as Mitch has put it. So with post-2015 agenda negotiations, the UN system tries in a process that is laudably very participatory and transparent, and World We Want platform, My World Survey, UN played a very positive role in this. So the UN system tries to identify the most important challenges that are facing global community today, and to determine a global goal system and globally coordinated interventions of all relevant stakeholders that will guide our thinking and action as global community for people and planet over the coming 15 years. As our name indicates, our organization IAI, International Association for the Development of Innovative Approaches to Global Challenges, regards existing global governance structures as not effective enough. Global community is not achieving targets for collaborative action that it sets multilaterally within UN system, and evidence for this is being the Global Environmental Outlook 5, which states that out of 90 multilaterally agreed environmental goals, only in 5 there is significant progress. There are perhaps 20 showing some progress, but it's not really what one would say is a good system. And the IPCC showing us that the CO2 concentrations are going up, although we say we don't want it, and in official development assistance the disparities are still there or even growing. So something is wrong with the system. And I stands for an innovative post-2015 agenda with local and global public sector innovation, extensive use of modern information and communication technology, and emphasis on our global citizenship and global community layers of identity. We, the global community of 7 billion plus global citizens, can do better. So, post-2015 agenda is a window of opportunity to fix our global challenges response system, to improve functioning of United Nations system, to make it fit for purpose, as has been stated in the Open Working Group reports on the Sustainable Development Goals. At IAR, we are convinced that the vision, conceptual innovation, ICT tools and intervention logic, and especially our global youth music contest that inspires the hearts and really triggers action, that with these elements we have developed in Global Challenges Action Network, the so-called GLOCHA system, the systemic missing link that can help UN system to overcome its national government-focused DNA limitations and forge an action-oriented global partnership for sustainable development that is being embraced and nurtured by 7 billion plus of global citizens, and not only by 195 or so member states who, with their, again, DNA limitations of being designed to defend the national interests, very often don't facilitate engagement of the citizens in global cooperation to an extent we as global community would wish it to be. I know this all sounds very abstract, so let me explain it with an analogy inspired by a comment of Maria, a student from Russia, a participant of our post-2015 workshop at UN office in Vienna last week, who said that our concepts and plans are an impressive machine. So let us look at the UN system as a machine, a computer. The machine has been built 70 years ago, and the operating system, the basic software which all functions and resolutions and actions are based on, is the UN Charter, which has the functional logic that member states have all the necessary means and the decision-making authority to address global challenges needs. But times have changed. National governments have financial constraints that don't allow them to channel resources in sufficient amount to global collaborative action. UN budget is being cut despite a growing global agenda. But on the other hand, in the 21st century, there are individuals, global citizens, having extreme financial resources at their disposal, which, let's mention only these 1,400 US dollar billionaires. So, and many of them are ready to share this wealth with society, like, for instance, the Giving Pledge signatories. But also ordinary people like us here are connected globally through modern information and communication technology that empowers us to understand global governance processes and to contribute to global collaborative action with resources, be it knowledge, funding, workforce, or social energy, music. The resources of global citizens that the UN system can tap in are huge. And IAAIpost system is designed to function as some kind of add-on machine, an auxiliary motor and resource pumping station to the UN system in order to make the UN system machine fit for purpose to bring global community to the goals we set ourselves in post-2015 agenda for the year 2030. For this, we have the Glotcher system, this UN computer supporting add-on machine developed with a network of more than 100 global youth leaders, innovation experts, local, national, international public authorities, academia and private sector, in a series of conferences, workshops, public events and meetings all around the world. And this system is comprised of a vision, general intervention logic saying everybody can and shall contribute to sustainable development efforts on local and global level, and having this post-2015 agenda with the resources of global citizens and local communities in the center of post-2015 agenda means of implementation design. And we have an ambitious vision or a concrete resource mobilization target that we have put together in the context of Rio+20 conference in the 15-15-15 UN Civil Society Resource Mobilization Partnership, which states that we want to mobilize 15 million global citizens in the Global Challenges Action Network and mobilize 15 billion euros for financing of globally coordinated local post-2015 agenda implementation action by the year 2015 was the initial announcement. Give us another 5 years, I would say. But then we have a new conceptual framework, a new way of thinking how really this makes sense in the functional logic of the UN system, why to engage global citizens and social entrepreneurs and local authorities. And this is the concept of local provision of global public goods. Because action that is taking place on local level has an added value vector that is not only the local action, but local marketable action, but also usually a local community added value and a global community added value. And if we, with these modern information systems, succeed to have this differentiated view and crowd evaluation to find out how these local actions are contributing to the sustainable development goals, then this is the new operating system for our Global Challenges response mechanism. And we've had workshops in Accra and this year in June in Ouagadougou, in Burkina Faso, on setting up global challenges, youth and ICT centers as local level entry points for young people to get engaged and to connect with the resources, knowledge and financing and social energy from around the world. And we have the Global Challenges Youth Music Contest as this social energy generator for post-2015 agenda triggering. And yeah, this can here be only mentioned. As I said, please download the poster, check out the links with further information. And our key message here at this post-2015 stock-taking session is that for effective global governance towards post-2015 agenda implementation, systemic deficiencies of UN system need to be addressed. And somehow operating system update needs to be done. One way is to give the UN system a modern operating system software. This is regarded by many as impossible. Someone said the UN Charter is buried somewhere and it should stay there buried. And so the only other option is to provide in the existing system in a coherent and UN system-wide way interfaces that will support structures and partnership like the GLOCHA system that facilitate the flow of knowledge, financial and other resources. And with the concluding messages, first we would like to say that for these interfaces, one thing that we need are knowledge interfaces, and here World We Want, Millennium Campaign, My World Survey have been really wonderful examples, and we are grateful for this cooperation. As regards the financial flows, interfaces for financial flows, our proposal is that there should be established a UN trust fund for local provision of global public goods. We are working also with regional government of Austrian province of Carinthia to establish a Global Challenges Foundation for those parts of funding those activities that are not related with the UN system, but there should be this twin function based on the common information system so that the money will flow to those activities that provide the highest global public added value. And it's also very important to have a shared vision, global post-2015 social contract, a charter on shared social responsibility for post-2015 agenda implementation that can be endorsed by global citizens, local authorities and other relevant stakeholders. And how we want to achieve it, a very important element is the Global Youth Music Contest. We will have a 2015 round of Global Youth Music Contest with a big award gala TV show that shall be broadcasted globally, and it shall happen in the context of COP21 in Paris. The UNFCCC Youth Program has already agreed to work with us on this, and more information on this we will also provide to you in end of May, because the UNDPI NGO-led briefing proposal from us has been approved in this direction. And so thank you all for being here, especially also thanking to Ravi, who is a source of inspiration and great networker and our vice president. So I'm giving back the floor. I hope it was not too long.
No, not at all. Not at all. As you can see, Miro wants to kind of just like totally change the UN system around completely.
Yes. And we want to become part of the UN system. That's also information. So once the time is ripe for a new operating system of the UN, all that we are developing here is global public goods, global commons, and should then be transferred to the renewed and global citizen-focused UN system.
Well, that should be very inspiring, I think, for people who actually have an idea to make a shift on a very systemic level.
Yes.
Because I think everyone should step forward and say, I have this idea to do something. Yes. That's what you've done. I don't know if anyone was aware of the music contest that Miro actually began in Rio plus 20, but it went all over the world. They had votes and. How many people, how many youth?
200, we have had 314 submissions from 40 countries. Mm-hmm. Altogether there have been several hundred people involved. and 250,000 people voted online. And the winning groups have been brought to Rio. There they have performed at the conference, but also at civil society events with good media coverage. But this year it should be by the factor of 50 more.
Very good, very good. Well, as you can see, partnerships are key here. I mean, partnership is like a buzzword around here. Everyone wants to partner, and it's totally appropriate. And being key to the implementation of the SDGs, there is one man who actually, as I was kind of reading more about him, is a true expert at partnering, at bringing people into partnerships together. Ari Obinson over here is Acting Secretary General of JCI, Junior Chamber International, and has been a JCI World Headquarters team member since 2002, which is quite a while. It's 12 years. 13 years. He actively engages large multinational corporations, which I think we should all be doing, small to medium-sized enterprises, governments, and non-profit organizations in more than 5,000 communities across 115 countries. This is massive. And he's developing and enhancing collaboration and leveraging resources to empower the young, active citizens. And it's between the ages of, what are the ages that you...
18 to 40.
18 to 40. So he's really focused in that, in the ones that the SDGs are really, really, really going to impact how they live their life, have their families, and, you know, grow up, learn everything. So, please, Ari.
Yeah, thank you very much for that introduction. So JCI is an organization, as she mentioned, that empowers, we provide development opportunities that empower young people to create positive change. And we are an organization, our target group is young people between the ages of 18 to 40. And you join a local organization by being part of a local community. So if I lived in St. Louis, Missouri, where I come from, I would be part of a local organization in St. Louis, Missouri. And all of these local organizations constitute the national organizations of JCI USA. And JCI USA and 123 other national organizations is what constitutes JCI, which is headquartered in St. Louis, Missouri. So basically what we do is provide young people with the tools, the skills that would empower them to identify what the challenges are within their communities and take action to mobilize resources and stakeholders within their communities to find sustainable solutions. Since 2004, actually going back, we had a very interesting conversation yesterday. Going back to 1954, JCI has been very engaged with the United Nations over the years. But in 2004, we came on board, developed this Memorandum of Understanding with the United Nations to work towards the promotion and the implementation of the Millennium Development Goals. And as we began that process, it also became a learning process for us, discovering how the civil society can play a role in advancing the global development agenda, particularly young people. And in that process, we also discovered that there was a huge difference in the way development, participation in development was understood by various generations. And the more we got involved, the more we realized that it was very difficult to generalize development. That people in different parts of the world and different communities and different age groups had different priorities. And that it was very easy to look at, to have a blanket problem, and call this a problem without necessarily understanding what the root cause was. And in many cases, we were, development activities were going after the symptoms rather than the root cause of the problem. So we started an exercise within our organization to see what projects had been successful. And as we went through that process, we realized that our successful organizations were those that did not only try to solve problems on their own, but try to engage their community around solving a problem, and that you could find more sustainable solutions if people who are affected by the problem are part of the solution, rather than you providing a solution for them. And through this exercise, we developed what we call the Active Citizen Framework. And the Active Citizen Framework is essentially based on key principles. That we must understand what the needs are in every community if we want to provide solutions to those needs. And there are various tools that exist out there, and you know, along came something called My World, which really was a great answer to some of that. But you can't end at just understanding what the needs are. You also have to find out what the root causes are. And so over the years, we've been working with our members to develop all sorts of needs assessment tools for them to ask the right questions. So why is there poverty, or why are kids dropping out of school? Why, you know, by asking why, you may find the right answers. And thereafter, formulating solutions that would allow the participation of all sectors of society in providing solutions, because we look at society as a three-legged stool, which involves governments, the civil society, as well as businesses. And that if we wanted to find solutions to challenges within communities, we needed the participation of all of these sectors of society to find answers. And thirdly, that, you know, it doesn't suffice to just have the engagement of the civil society, but what about monitoring and evaluating progress so that you could actually speak to success, inspire others, and maybe learn from that to get better over time. And so we developed the Active Citizen Framework, which we've been deploying very successfully, and have actually been working on very innovative tools on how we can measure success on the field. But 2015 has come along, which incidentally for us is we celebrate 100 years of our existence as an organization. But really coincides with a time in the world when we have to look forward to almost a new beginning, to a new time in the history of mankind. And we really want to work, like I said, we have no illusion that we can transform the world on our own. We have to do this in close collaboration with partners at a global level, nationally, as well as locally. And we are building, we're working with our members to build the platforms that will be able to do that. With the new development goals, with the post-2015 development goals, and what we have learned about the world going forward, we know that governments are going to become weaker in implementing policies. We know that citizens are going to become stronger. They are going to rely on all the tools that are available to make statements that would lead and inspire as well as mobilize people into action. The key of the future is going to be action that individual citizens take. The future of the world depends on individual responsibility based on what we see. And I can say this, that besides even what I've learned in JCI, I've actually tried to put in practice. I originally come from Cameroon, and it's a country that faces enormous challenges. But about 2 years ago, we started this whole idea of, now we know that individual responsibility is key to development. How can we put that into practice? And we started this movement along with JCI in Cameroon called I Am Cameroon, or Je suis le Cameroon, just in case people heard about Je suis Charlie long before Je suis Charlie, we had started this Je suis le Cameroon. And what we noticed is that the more we spoke about individuals being responsible for the development of their community, the more people started thinking about doing very small things. And it is small things that's going to make a difference, whether it's in health, in education, and all of those things will largely depend on how we can give an opportunity for young people to participate, how we can support them with the tools that will be necessary for them to participate in the development process, how we recognize the work that young people do around the world, and really, very importantly, how we give them the opportunity to take ownership of their communities. And for me, that's how I see the future of we at JCI. Thank you very much.
I hope you were all taking notes. I was. I had to. Because I'm learning a lot here. I don't know if everyone else is really kind of understanding and getting this. I mean, and I know financing all of this is, but we've got a lot of those young billionaires out there now. So let's just tap into them. Give them a call. You know? They have a vested interest in this.